As your senator, building a modern transportation system will be one of my priorities because investing in transportation is investing in our people. For many working families, transportation isn't just about getting from one place to another. It's about opportunity. It's about keeping a job, getting an education, and building a better future. A strong economy depends on a strong middle class, and a strong middle class depends on having the tools people need to succeed. That's why transportation matters. When workers can get to work reliably, business can grow. When businesses grow, jobs are created. And when jobs are created, families thrive. Imagine a Guam where opportunity is within reach for everyone. I'm Donna Munikanata, and I approve this message.
I'm getting that foreboding that I'm a little concerned about this Invest 95W. And I'm concerned about it in the sense that the last time we had an event, Sinlaku, and this turns on the more vain side of me. Vanity is my number one sin, and it's something anyway. So, uh, when right before Sinlaku came, I was doing very well with I was on a cut. I was on this program with my coach throughout Mista Fitness, and then Sinlaku came in, and the power outages and the things weren't working, so it gave me a perfect excuse to get off of my diet, and I have been struggling with that ever since. I know that that is nothing compared to what the people of Saipan and Tinian have been through. I just wanted to express, you know, I'm the kind of person who needs routine, and when I am knocked off of a routine, like a typhoon, even if a typhoon comes to Guam or doesn't come to Guam, the coverage of it is so intense that I get knocked off of my routine. And so I have to very consciously make an effort to keep my mental health in check. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. I think anybody who understands, who values routine, understands what I'm saying, and anybody who has been ever addicted to something that was not good probably understands what I'm saying. But I don't get a good sense out of this 95W. And we're going to talk to Landon Aydlett tonight about what might have changed between this morning's forecast that he gave us and this evening. And I think what we're going to look for is whether the subtropical ridge to the north has instead moved either further north or east, so that whatever this 95W becomes at the time that it heads closest to the Mariana Islands, it pulls far north, as into the largely uninhabited islands of the Northern Marianas, the islands far north of Saipan, so that whatever Invest 95W becomes, and the Google DeepMind, the artificial intelligence models do not look good for us in just a few days, in the early part of next week, possibly even this weekend. That if whatever that is, right, that it does not go over any one of the main islands of the Mariana Islands. And when I say the main islands, I mean Guam, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan. Lord spare the Northern Mariana Islands more than anything, because they just went through it with Sinlaku, and I really hope they don't get anything bad. Anyway, so we're going to talk to Landon about that tonight, and then we're going to talk after that about the oversight hearing that Senator Jesse Lujan. I don't care about the airport portion of it, which consumed the first half of the hearing in the good 2 or 3 hours. I hardly was paying attention to that part anyway. I want to talk about the GVB portion and how almost unbelievable it is that, look, none of us are stupid. We know what the economy feels like for us. We know what our families are going through, the struggles that there are, and we know that a whole lot of this is tied to tourism. Some of it's tied to the effects of the military buildup as well. Some of it's tied to after effects of the pandemic and the Strait of Hormuz and all this stuff, right? But we know that tourism is a shadow of what it was. We also know that we have been pouring tens of millions of dollars of public funds through Guam Visitors Bureau on an annual basis. We know that they've been traveling up the wazoo. And in answers to questions about the failures of tourism today, GVB essentially said, it's everybody else's fault, not ours. We're doing everything. We're working so hard. And I want to talk about that. And I want to slam that when we get to that portion of today's show. So, stick with us. On the other side of the commercial break, it's just 2 commercials. We'll have Landon Aydlett with the National Weather Service Guam office to tell us what is the latest with Invest 95W. Stick with us.
He has that innate talent of even the most difficult times, giving comfort, giving solace, bringing stability. In my 64 years, there are people I've known that have passed away, and there's been Tony that has been there to comfort the family and the loved ones, sometimes the most difficult times of their lives. He could better this community as a public servant, but bring people together, even people with divergent thoughts and philosophies, but in the end, bringing enough comfort, enough stability to a situation that there's a consensus and then resolution and progress that is made. So, I'm so excited. I've seen what a great job Tony's done now back in the legislature, but I do believe that with him as governor, that ability to bring people together, to bring folks even with different perspectives together. It's what this island needs. God bless Atacaubo 2026. God bless Guam.
I'm Tony Atta, and I approve this message.
Strong communities don't happen by chance. They're built. For nearly 2 decades, Dr. Mary Okada led Guam Community College, transforming it into a powerhouse for workforce development. She expanded the opportunities for students, strengthened job training, and helped build the workforce Guam depends on. She modernized the GCC campus to ensure students gain the skills to meet the demands of today and the future. In 2014, President Barack Obama appointed her to the White House Advisory Commission on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, where she worked to expand educational opportunity and strengthen access to federal programs for communities across our region. When it comes to preparing people for real careers, Mary Okada delivers real results. She understands that a stronger workforce means stronger families and a stronger Guam. With Frank Blas Jr.'s experience in public safety and government and Dr. Mary Okada's proven leadership in education and workforce development, the future looks bright for our island. This is the team ready to move Guam forward. Vote Frank Blas Jr. for governor and Dr. Mary Okada for lieutenant governor.
Welcome back to the show.
Continue with this Invest 95W. Some new information from that. It was located right about 8.3 north, 165 degrees east. That was about 411 nautical miles east-northeast of Pompeii. So it's been sitting nearly stationary. It is still rated as medium for development by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center since yesterday. That has not been upgraded to high. And that's just indicative that this low-level circulation center, while it is present and it's starting to get organized, it is just not organized to the point that they feel confident that it'll soon become a tropical depression. So this thing is still holding steady in eastern Micronesia. It's still spinning. You're looking at the satellite data, especially the visible satellite imagery today. We have a very broad cyclonic turning system across the eastern Micronesia, and that's a counterclockwise motion with westerly winds all the way from this 95W down southward toward the equator, and then trades surging in from the east well to the north of the system. So that has been a change of the environment over the last 24 hours with this very large circulation. The long range trends, they're holding steady. We're still anticipating something in some form to pass through the Mariana Islands on Sunday or Monday. A lot of the numerical models are favoring a passage of something somewhere between Guam and Pagan Sunday and Monday, and some of the intensity trends are definitely of concern.
Not
So
looking,
95.
not looking good. It's stuff
That's
that I'm
correct.
seeing. Yeah.
This is definitely not news that I like to be sharing to the public, especially for Saipan and Tinian that are still deep in the recovery mode from Sinlaku. But nevertheless, 95W is to our east. It is upstream of us. And while it's sitting stationary, it is upstream of us, and it's something that we all have to watch very closely. There's a lot of possibilities. This could be a Guam passage, it could be a Saipan passage, or neither. But there's a lot of potential, a lot of uncertainty, and this is going to be a definite threat to the islands that we have to take very seriously moving forward.
Has the subtropical ridge veered further north or east since this morning?
Unfortunately, that ridge is holding steady, and so the Jet Trapper Warning Center in their 4 p.m. bulletin stated that gradual organization is anticipated in a favorable environment, but the initial motion is expected to be toward the northwest. We're not seeing that just yet, but once it starts moving, they do anticipate a northwestward motion.
When we say
But with that
when we say
ridge,
northwest, does that mean it can go? It can most likely go further north of Saipan?
not necessarily, but from its current position, they do expect that initial motion to be toward the northwest, but that's going to be short-lived with that ridge to the north, turning the track more toward the west. I think the global models, the numerical models, the AI models, they're handling that pretty well. And we're seeing a lot of consistency between the model, different models and ensembles showing a track really honing in on the Mariana Islands.
I am seeing a further consolidation in the Google DeepMind models that has. I hope it's not irresponsible to say it. It's 7:45 p.m. on Tuesday, June 30, 2026. In my conversation with Landon Aydlett about something that could change tremendously between now and whenever Invest 95W as some type of storm comes through the Marianas. But as of this evening in Google DeepMind, it's showing a Category 5 type event going pretty close to Saipan. Is that something that the physics models also are honing in on or getting a greater agreement on?
The physics models are still showing a wide range of possibilities, not quite to the degree of consistency in the AI models.
Okay.
But what I want to stress is don't look at any one model at this time and say,
Okay.
oh my God, this is it. It's another Sinlaku. That's not certain. What is certain, this is a threat. And additional certainty is that this is likely coming toward the Mariana Islands in some shape or form. But what is uncertain is the potential intensity, the exact track, and location of passage. So those are a lot of uncertainties. But it just does not look good right now. We're gonna have to watch this very closely and make sure we're ready and prepared. Conversations. We're having a lot of discussions with the Homeland Security Office, and we're going to be doubling down on some coordination and communications, probably starting tomorrow. We're going to be watching how things trend overnight tonight. Again, it's still rated medium. It has not been upgraded to a formation alert or rated as high. So that whole progression is still holding steady. It's still spinning there in Eastern Micronesia. We're waiting on that ultimate consolidation and that eventual motion away from Eastern Micronesia. Once we get those details, once we see that happening with that circulation center, we're going to have a lot more clarity on when, where, and what.
The pressure, so in reading some of this stuff, right, the pressure from Guam all the way to Saipan is somewhere around like the 950s or something for late this weekend, early next week. Is that the kind of thing that drives rapid intensification and acts like a magnet for these types of storms?
That doesn't necessarily drive the rapid intensification, but it's a measure of the rapid intensification. It's the environment around this disturbance or eventual tropical cyclone that really allows for rapid intensification or not. It looks like some of the AI models specifically are really honing in on some rapid intensification somewhere between Eastern Micronesia and the Mariana Islands. I'm not seeing too much discussion yet at this time, but that does remain a possibility that's on the table. And always my worst fear as a forecaster is rapid intensification, because we can see a category 1 typhoon become a category 4 or 5 in a very short time. So we will have to watch out for that. The other thing is this has a very large footprint. With that wind field I was discussing earlier, it's a very large wind field. So wherever it passes through the Mariana Islands, many islands across the region will feel it to some degree. We saw that with Sulaku. Saipan and Tinian took the full brunt of this typhoon. Guam had a heavy hit with tropical storm force winds for about 2 days. And so we did not get unscathed.
Yeah, I remember. I gained a lot of weight during those times.
I lost.
Lucky you. I wish I had your problem. All right. So for tonight, for it being 7:48 p.m. on Tuesday, June 30, 2026, the information for tonight is that the subtropical ridge has not adjusted northward or eastward, that it's holding steady, that some type of storm is going to come through the Mariana Islands anywhere from as south of Guam to as north as Pagan, that the models are consolidating even more toward passage somewhere through the main Mariana Islands, being Guam, Rota, Tinian, or Saipan, and that there are a wide range of possibilities for how strong this thing will be as it gets here, either Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. Would that be a correct summary? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. And let me just reiterate, 95W, while it is to our east, it is a threat to everybody in the region, one that we have to watch closely and take seriously. Make sure you keep aware of forecasts and trends from the Weather Service Guam now and through the end of the week and into the weekend. As this will evolve, changes will occur in track intensity and expectations. Changes happen in these situations, but we have to watch it closely and maintain preparedness. Do what you can to be prepared and be ready to take action if and when that becomes necessary, whether for us on Guam or for those on Rota or for folks on Tinian and Saipan.
So this is an all islands alert. Something is coming to one of our islands, most likely, right?
Yeah, correct. And like I said, I've been talking to the folks in Micronesia this evening, and I don't want them to let their guard down, because this is going to be generally to their north. This large wind field will be sweeping over Coast State and Pohnpei State right now, and eventually over Chuuk State. And so this is going to be affecting islands and atolls of those 3 states, with the peripheral effects of those strong surging west winds and gusty at times. We could also see showers, thunderstorms, and locally heavy rainfall. And if it's significant enough rainfall, banding in some of these rain bands over those higher islands of Pohnpei and Chuuk, this could lead to mudslide potential and stuff across those higher islands. So Micronesia is not going to get off easy with this one. They're going to definitely be feeling the outer effects of this tropical system.
Is the door of possibility closing that this could come through one of our islands as something as weak as a tropical depression or tropical storm?
You know, I definitely want to keep that on the table as well. It's definitely in the realm of possibility. Again, we're not guaranteed to have a super typhoon to come through our islands. The possibilities remain wide and remain present while this is still spinning up in the Marshall Islands. So we're going to have to watch for a whole host of things. Again, don't put all your hopes and fears on one particular model, trend, or solution, because there remain a number of trends out there and a lot of room for fluctuation, but it's something we have to watch closely and take seriously.
Are possibilities growing that this could be something as bad as a super typhoon?
Yeah, that possibility is also there.
Okay, all right. Can we please have an update live stream phone call tomorrow morning at 8:10 on our morning show?
Possibly. I might be in a mobile situation in a funeral procession. I'll be a pallbearer for my close friends.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Funeral ceremonies, but I'm going to keep my phone on handy. I need to talk to my friend's sister actually and get some finer details, because it's going to be a complicated day.
How about earlier than that? We can start our show earlier if that makes things easier.
3:30 a.m. Does that work?
How about a 7:15 a.m. call?
7:15 might work.
Okay, so 7:15. We will move the morning show to 7 a.m. then for all of you who are watching. If you can all spread the word. The morning show on Kandit, the Wednesday news analysis, will be at 7 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. so that we can call Landon Aydlett live at 7:15 a.m. to get the latest. Do you expect that there will be changes tonight? You think Joint Typhoon Warning Center is going to upgrade the likelihood to high?
I would be surprised if they did not upgrade to high sometime tonight. I do expect that's going to be a thing overnight. I don't expect any changes to prognosis or any curveballs. I think this thing is going to be in a steady progression, is pretty much as anticipated at this point.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Landon. And so I'm gonna go on with the second half of my show where I'm gonna talk about GVB, and then I'm gonna write up a news story based on what you said tonight. Would it be okay with you if in about, I want to say maybe about 40 minutes, I send you a draft?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Landon. I appreciate you. God bless you.
Yeah. God bless.
All right. All right, so that icky feeling I was getting, I was talking about, I guess it's unfortunately been validated. Here's the thing. There are different apps and things that you'll see online, especially on social media, that will tell you that, oh, this is coming and it's going to go this way, it's going to go that way, or whatever. There are different models that say different things. But what Landon Aydlett sounds or is saying that he's certain of is that something is coming. We don't know how strong it will be. We believe it's coming sometime Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. And it's going to come somewhere from Guam to Pagan. But that cone is starting to hone in on Guam to Saipan. And the possibility is there that it could be a super typhoon whenever it gets to this neck of the woods. He doesn't want to close the door on this being the possibility that this could be something as weak as a tropical depression or a tropical storm, but something is coming to one of our islands. And you heard what he said about how big the wind field is on this thing. Even if it goes, as south as Guam, the rest of the Mariana Islands are going to feel it. If it goes as north as Saipan, we're going to feel it here in Guam as well, because it's a big system. And the hope that he was having this morning, that the subtropical ridge, which is an area of high pressure, I guess how it works is typhoons don't like, or storms don't like high pressure. So the subtropical ridge, this area of high pressure, has been to the north, and it's been leading Invest 95W's path more westward, meaning more toward the main islands of the Mariana Islands, Guam, Rota, Tinian, Saipan. He was hoping since this morning that subtropical ridge would lift upward or to the east to allow Invest 95W to develop and to go north, further north of Saipan, so that it does not become such a big threat to Saipan, Tinian, Rota, and Guam. But it sounds like from the last reading of the forecast that movement has not happened. And so Invest 95W, at least for now, continues to make its path toward the Mariana Islands. It is expected, according to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, to move northwestward before moving westward, according to Landon Aydlett. And anyway, on the other side of the short commercial break, I want to talk about GVB, and I want to talk about the oversight hearing, bring you some clips from that oversight hearing, and discuss just how ridiculous of a deal that we as the public are getting from this public agency that wants to take absolutely no responsibility for the failures of tourism. We'll talk about that on the other side of the commercial break. Stick with us.
He has that innate talent of even the most difficult times, giving comfort, giving solace, bringing stability. In my 64 years, there are people I've known that have passed away, and there's been Tony that has been there to comfort the family and the loved ones, sometimes the most difficult times of their lives. He could better this community as a public servant but bring people together, even people with divergent thoughts and philosophies, but in the end, bringing enough comfort, enough stability to a situation that there's a consensus and then resolution and progress that is made. So, I'm so excited. I've seen what a great job Tony's done now back in the legislature. But I do believe that with him as governor, that ability to bring people together, to bring folks even with different perspectives together, that's what this island needs. God bless Atacaubo 2026. God bless Guam.
I'm Tony Atta, and I approve this message.
Guam's economy is growing. Millions of federal and military buildup dollars are being invested in our island. But too many off-island companies are benefiting, and many of the highest-paying jobs are still going to workers recruited from somewhere else. Frank Blas Jr. and Dr. Mary Okada have a simple belief.
The best jobs on Guam should go to the people of Guam.
Their plan expands workforce training, apprenticeships, and industry certifications so local residents can compete for high-skill, high-pay careers in construction, healthcare, technology, skilled trades, and defense industries. And they know Guam cannot depend on one industry alone. That's why the Blas Okada administration will grow and diversify our economy, strengthen tourism, maximizing military opportunities, and attracting new manufacturing and technology investments that create year-round jobs and long-term economic security. More local jobs, higher wages, more opportunities for our families to build their future right here at home.
Let's invest in our people and build an economy that works for Guam.
Because Guam's future should be built by the people who call Guam home.
Vote Frank Blas Jr. for governor, Dr. Mary Okada for lieutenant governor. Ready on day one.
I am absolutely amazed that in the oversight hearing for GVB today, Guam Visitors Bureau officials did nothing to accept responsibility for the state of tourism. Instead, it was everybody else. Everybody else, from the airport to DPW to the legislature to the Strait of Hormuz to just everything else. It was everything else. And granted, while there are different factors that affect our economy, absolutely, if you are the agency that's being paid $40 million, or that has control of $40 million annually to do something about tourism, and this island, the government and the tourism industry places all of its trust in you to get this done, and you make claims at the onset of each of these years where you're going to spend that $40 million in public funds, that because of some great plan that you have, that the public, that really is not all that understandable beyond a few great gimmicky lines that some marketing agency placed into a brochure. No real metrics, no real rubrics, no actual plan. Just something that you call a strategy, and then you attach plane tickets and sometimes even illegal premium travel and per diem and fancy dining in all of these different locations and call it some type of strategy. And then you come back to the table when it fails. And you're called to the table, actually. You are called by Senator Jesse Lujan before the Legislative Tourism Committee to account for... Quiet. To account for... quiet. Shh. To account for why tourism sucks. And you, hey, come here. His name is Oliver, and he can be very loud. Sorry about that. To account for why tourism sucks, and you have nothing to say about your own conduct except we work very hard. Every day I see my coworkers, they work very hard too. And we're all working very, very hard. It's just that there's this and there's that, and from one excuse to the next. And the only thing that you can say is we're working very hard, as though no one else in this island's working very hard, just without the benefit of a $40 million budget to blow on not getting tourists into this island. Thankfully, senators slammed GVB in this oversight hearing today, and I want to bring you at least some of these clips. This is 4 minutes worth of clips that I put together.
We're all over the place. We're all over here, and we're not accomplishing this goal. People are leaving. Businesses are closing up. And as my vice chair has said, you know, this is a come to Jesus time. Houston, we have a problem.
At some point, there has to be a reckoning with what the investment means and what the ROI means when it's not performing. Bottom line, I mean, there are those in the industry that have been in the industry for a long time, the frustrated ones and the people from the outside that are watching from the government, that said, I bet you if you do an experiment and basically didn't travel for 3 months with GVB, the numbers would probably be just about the same. And if you just sent promotions and marketing and the airlines were doing what they were doing, because they need to fill those seats just as much as everybody else has to.
Where I'm going with this, right? We just spent $220,000 to send our 15 people to the United States in D.C. to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States of America.
Yes,
and we're not celebrating anything here on Guam with
all
GVB.
All of the America 250 events.
I understand. I understand, but what I'm saying is we're not doing anything here locally to attract people to come to Guam where America's Day begins, but yet we spent this $220,000 for our people to go to D.C. to celebrate. So I'm just a little bit, you know, I was just trying to figure out what are we doing here locally for the 4th of July?
The two big things. And so ultimately that is what's holds you guys accountable. You know, they're waiting, they're holding on for the tourism to recover, and we cannot sustain ourselves if we don't have a plan. And so it's in looking at, you know, what you're doing, it is good, but it's not sufficient. We cannot sustain ourselves, and there has to be a new plan that is data-driven.
We waited, we listened, we gave space, we gave support, we invested public dollars. In FY 2026, this legislature appropriated an additional $10 million to the Guam Visitors Bureau. That funding was presented as a last-ditch effort to help save tourism. It was not a small investment. That $10 million could have gone to schools, it could have gone to the hospital, it could have gone to law enforcement, it could have gone to public safety, infrastructure, or other urgent needs across this government. But this legislature made a choice. We gambled on the Guam Visitors Bureau because we understood how important tourism is to our island's economy. The reality is we made a bad bet. That does not mean tourism is not worth saving. Tourism is absolutely worth saving, but it does not mean that we cannot continue pretending that more money alone will fix the problem. We cannot continue to invest millions of public dollars without demanding accountability, measurable results, and a clear plan forward. If the board of management of the Guam Visitors Bureau cannot recognize that, then this body has a responsibility to act. This is not about blaming one person or one board or one agency. This is about accepting reality. Guam's tourism economy has changed. The market has changed, visitor expectations have changed, airline access has changed, regional competition has changed, the cost of travel has changed, and if we keep doing the same things in the same way, we should not expect different results. The consequences of inactions are real. Today we will hear from the Guam International Airport.
If you watch the actual hearing, it's 5.5 hours long, I think it is. And I think the GVB portion is like 2.5 or 3 hours long. But if you watch it, it's infuriating because the senators, you know, they weren't even asking the really hard questions, you know, like if I was on that panel, I'd be like, why the hell do you guys need to go to Singapore every year? What is there that, like, why is our visitors agency taking a vacation to Singapore when instead we should be getting tourists to vacation in Guam? Why are you always going to Malaysia? Why are you always going to this IMEX in Las Vegas? And you guys have such a sucky booth. Why do you guys always go to these destinations that mean nothing to bringing tourists to Guam? Like, why are you in the Philippines trying to bring tourists to Guam when it's difficult for a Filipino citizen to get a vacation visa to enter Guam? Like, why aren't these resources being spent in Korea and Japan? And by the way, when you're in Korea and Japan, what is it that you guys are doing? Because all I see in these shows is or in these things that you submit to the public is you're going to these places where these types of establishments no longer drive tourism. So are these just junkets? It's Jane Doe right that these trips are just pretext for sexualized misconduct like going to brothels? Anytime the senators had some type of scrutiny, someone on the GVB panel would get defensive. And you know what their main defense was? We work very hard, senators. It's not our fault that this is happening or this is happening or this is happening. We work very hard. And you ask them what's their plan. Can't be articulated, at least not what we would think a plan is. Acting as though workers across the rest of the government and throughout the private sector also aren't working hard. The measure of your success isn't just the hard work, but whether the work is working, especially when we're spending $40 million or whatever the annual amount is these days. It's in the tens of millions, 20 to 40, maybe $60 million from the tourist attraction fund, public funds, just so that GVB can fail to bring in the tourists. And then they want to talk about everything else, including how hard they're working versus how many tourists are spending how much money throughout Tumon and the rest of the island. Then they've got it ass backward. And what they're only interested in doing is preserving themselves, their jobs, their excuses, their institution that has failed this island. And so when the legislature talks about that $10 million, and we were dead set against that $10 million to begin with, trying to artificially create demand rather than spending that money so that demand can be created naturally by seeing whatever is marketed about Guam or whatever we even enhanced about Guam, instead giving a $10 million gift to the airlines that we can hardly account for. And it was an absolute failure. And now GVB wants even more money. They're tripping. They are tripping hard. And I'm glad to see that the senators aren't having it anymore. I'm glad to see that the senators are seeing what we've seen for a couple of years already, that GVB is well past its sell date. It is an antiquated system that needs absolute reform, and you weren't getting any of that by the responses from the panel over at GVB today. Just set in their ways, wanting to spend more money, asking for more money, and not accepting any responsibility for the fact that the money that it's already been given from the public, it has squandered on not getting tourists into Guam. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Please join us for the morning show, which will begin at 7 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. tomorrow so that we can accommodate Landon Aydlett's schedule. And so he will be on with us sometime around 7:15 or thereabouts. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. You all have a good night. God bless you all.